Just
No,
so
you can't
we're
go
only a
live.
minute early. I can go live.
No.
Peppermint
We-
Pilot's there. He's also in Wales. So Wales is in a different time zone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you might be in the world. Here we are. We started early, and the reason I clicked early, only a minute early, is because Ian was mentioning the Mavic III. But actually, I'd like to rewind the clock a little bit to what we were talking about before that, which was shilling chairs on YouTube and other stuff.
That chair just cost a shilling.
It just costs a shit. Well, now that they can have champagne and pints back in the UK, it will cost a shilling. What a ridiculous thing that is, isn't it? And Liz Truss is going to be the next flipping Prime Minister of the UK. Anyway,
we'll go back into the trading zone with the EU, and it'll all be nice and happy, and everyone will be nice.
It's like nothing ever happened. That's
champagne never arrived in pints. Who the heck is going to set up a bottling plant to bottle champagne in units of pints? What a ridiculous idea.
It comes up with drivel.
Absolutely. Waiting for the discussion of drone, which is in the thumbnail. Yeah, we can. Yeah, that I'm more interested in who's operating that, which is 700X Squadron, and I'm hoping that someone from Royal Naval's 700X Squadron is watching.
Oh.
And then when next time I come to the UK, I can have a visit. That thing in there is made in the UK. A couple of them have flown away. They do a tethered version, and I've completely forgotten the name of it now.
I was ask. I can't say. I can't say that. I've seen this up close, and to be honest,
I agree totally. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Which particular part?
I feel like something just went straight over my head there. I
don't know what it was. Yeah,
and it certainly wasn't here.
Just nod. Just nod.
just nod. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's got a great flight time, but that's it.
What's that? What drone is this?
This is the one that sat in the thumbnail at the bottom.
Yeah.
I've seen some comments this week on the Sony one as well. I know one person who's ordered one.
The Sony one,
I've seen someone's ordered one as well. Yeah.
So the Sony one is really interesting because everyone's going, it's not got the flight time, it's not got this, it's not got that. What they fail to all understand is the Sony one is aimed at one market. It's not aimed at people like Bruce, no offense, Bruce. It's not aimed at probably at Ian, and it's probably not aimed at Gary, or it's not even aimed at myself personally. It's aimed at those that work in the TV production world and film production world, where the shot is only going to be like 10 seconds long. You don't need a 40-minute flight time. You just need to get your shot.
But if it was that easy, if it was only that easy, but you've got to hang around because everyone's got to get ready, and this person's not in the right place, and you can spend 20 minutes waiting before the shot shoots. And if you have to be there because once it's all go, you've got to go. And if you wait until everything's right and go up, you're too late. It's like still needs a long flight time for that stuff.
The interesting thing with this is this, and this is the bit I'm a bit thinking of. I think Sony are 5 years too late. Yes, Mark's got a point, but there is no reason those guys wouldn't use an Inspire 2 with the raw license. If that drone had released after the Inspire 1 with the M600 time, if you remember that period where that was the big cine lifter, I think Sony would have come. But this is a dinosaur. This drone is a product of the past because there really is no good reason to use that when you have the Inspire 2 or Mavic 3 even. And I'll be honest, because look, clips on TV for drones is about 10 seconds, as Mark said. It isn't long enough that you get to spend concerned about the detail. The more you look at Amazon and Netflix and all of these things, I've been having a real close look recently, and a lot of the drone footage is frankly shocking. The quality is appalling, but it doesn't matter because it's a 3-4 second horizon shot and it's gone. And I just wonder, I think Sony have misunderstood the market. It might be very good, but what I think they've missed is it's a drone from the past. 4 years ago, I think everyone would have been really excited. Today,
it's the Pterodactyl.
it's
an interesting. I mean, it's interesting because when you are on set, and I've been on a couple of sets, when you're there, and as Ian say, as you guys have said, people do set up, so they can be 20 minutes setting up. However, you do get a little bit of warning before they actually, they're ready to go. So you turn the aircraft on like 5 minutes before they actually want you, and the aircraft can just sit, making sure it's getting its GPS. And you're ready to go. You can get to like within a 5-10 minute warning, and you only need that little bit of a flight time. Or you can even sit with one set of batteries, keeping it live, and then have a Y lead, and then just swap over to the actual flight batteries and have just a normal battery, keeping it ready to go.
But then you can't use expensive proprietary batteries. Have you seen Top Gear? They're using mini quads for a lot of their action shots, and that's totally acceptable. I mean, this is 4K television with mini quads.
Yeah,
the racing quad's the only thing that can keep up when you're doing the stuff they are doing. With Top Gear and Inspire 2, don't get me wrong, it's quick at like 50 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour.
I think it topped out at 70 before they messed with the firmware, Mark. I think it was up to 70. I'll have to double check that. But in the early days, I know people have clocked it very, very fast. And
yeah. With a small little racing quad, you've got that maneuverability, haven't you? A nice 720 HD camera recording, or 1080p, or 4K little, GoPro on the front of it. Those things can just outmaneuver and inspire all day long.
It is interesting if you do watch like the Grand Tour. My kids have been watching it quite a bit over Christmas, and what I really like with the Grand Tour is they actually show a lot more of the crew and stuff in the background, which you didn't really see in Top Gear. So you see the extra vans and the trucks. And look, you've got a choice right now of bringing something the size this is, as I was flying today, which is the Inspire 2, the Sony, or let's be honest, Mavic III. And we can argue up and down, it's not a great drone. It's probably a bad buy in many ways. But if you're in a transit van, traveling halfway around the world and space is at a premium, you can pack 5 of them into the same space. You can pack an Inspire 2, let alone this Sony. And I think
also there's going to be...
Come on, guys.
Here we go.
Come on, guys. You're all speaking like if the camera does not matter. And those value productions, they tend to go with red cameras and such.
They're not, though, Louis. They're not.
No. So the minimum camera that they could bear to use would be the X7 on the Inspire 2. Getting one of those run cams that Bruce so proudly uses as a means of production for a high-quality movie set.
Movie, yes. We're not talking about movies. One thing, we're not talking about movies.
Movies
we're
are
talking about
come on.
Programs. The stuff that's filmed every day.
Switch on the TV and put the Top Gear and see.
They're using Mavic Minis, Louis. They're using Minis. I've seen them.
They use racing machines. Top Gear's production stuff. The guy that flies for them, he will tell you his racing quads. He sets those machines up specifically for going around the track chasing the cars, or it's their Inspire 2, or it's their Mini 2. They've used Mavic 2 Pros. They don't all, it's like if you're going to use in high-end TV and film. I mean, I've flown a Red under a drone. Your drone's at 20 kilos. It can't chase a car around a track because when you're carrying a camera...
Get one of the new ones. The new ones are the size of a DSLR.
Well, the one I was flying was ridiculously big. It was a proper... I think it was
Type makes an interesting point here. Is he movies using Altas, and he's not wrong. And here's an interesting question: why would you buy the Sony over the Alta? Come
on, the Sony. Do you see anyone wanting to buy the Sony drone just because it can fly an A7? I wouldn't. Everybody
will, Louis. It's the accessory for your A7.
God!
Yes. The free fly Alta. I mean, I've flown I flew one of the earlier ones. I think it was the Free Fly 8. I think it was with the Movi under it, and I flew it just test flying it around. It flies really nice because it's a loose, if you like, compared to DJI. It's not solidly locked in. But if you want to fly and you want to give it some movement and swing it around.
Oh,
you know,
God.
the
Don't worry,
machine
no, the Mavic 3
Ian.
Mac, that goes more like that as well. Don't worry.
Ian, we have to teach Mark to do a proper drone calibration. Apparently, he does not know how to calibrate the drone. Come on, Mark.
To be honest, right? There's a problem. You see, you can, calibrating the drone, setting it all up. If you don't get the CG right, if you've not set it all up, if you don't calibrate the compass, this, that, and the other, yes, they can be a bit loose, but sometimes it's what suits. I mean, it's like the braking on the Inspire 1. If you've flown the Inspire 1, Ian, at all? He's not listening to me.
Yes, I had one. Inspire 1, Inspire 2. I've had pretty much all of them.
Yeah. So when you fly Inspire 1, you can choose the braking system, for example, how hard it stops when you let go of the sticks, right? It's actually better to reduce all that and let it slide a bit more to a stop. But the problem is with that, I found, is the GPS got a bit more sloppy with it. For some reason, it wouldn't lock itself in as well. It was quite interesting. But sometimes you just want the machines to roll a bit. When I have everything off the sticks, I don't want it to brake hard. I want it just to go through the air a little bit more.
The Inspire 2 at times feels like it's going to flip.
We've got the frame for it here somewhere. That's why I liked tricopters with gyros. They were very.
When it comes to braking, the DJI FPV drone beats them all.
Yeah, well, the Inspire 2 is very much, well, I know where you're going with that, Bruce, literally braking, but and this is the weird thing with the Mavic 3. The Mavic 3 feels like a cross between the Mavic and the FPV drone, actually, how it flies. It's very strange. I don't like it at all, I'll be honest.
Are we still discussing beta products?
Yeah, still I forgot we people paid for pre-testers. Look, it's a very good drone, I think. But no, when you're talking about the Sony one, I think I do wonder.
We're mere hours away from a massive update, which will make everybody happy. We're hours away.
I think they did that earlier. When did they say that? Wasn't New Year? That was 20-something. I think the rumors were that, and they have
2029.
I will say, active track is frankly dangerous and shouldn't be used. I'll use those words in my own tests. In my opinion, it's actually dangerous. Don't use it.
There's a guy in Netherlands that managed to get the Mavic 3 crashed. I saw a video of him on YouTube. The Mavic 3 goes straight to the tree. It's so painful to see that. Well, but he had the DJI Care, so they just gave him a new one. So welcome.
They pushed that firmware out a little bit too quick, in my opinion, and it's all over the place. Active track is literally all over the place, and that was in an open area. And even I had a couple of branches and stuff over out the way, and I was like, no, I'm turning this off before it's not my aircraft. I don't intend to crash it, but it's even when I was standing
those are the best ones. Come on,
yeah, well,
those are the best ones.
I don't want to have to pay poor Ben for it. Ben has very kindly lent me his own aircraft.
He'll get the new one. Don't worry. He has DJI Care. I'm sure he has DJI Care, so he could get a new one.
It's not going to rise to that.
I'm not rising to that one. No, I don't.
No. When's the video coming? The end of that?
I'm going to do a battery video this week because there's a lot of stuff I'm seeing people sort of talk about and ask questions. One of them is multiple flights. I've got a bit of bee in my bonnet about this, and this is a problem we're going to have moving forward as the flight time gets longer on these aircraft, that people are more inclined to want to fly for 10 minutes, land, drive for 20 minutes and fly again. And this is gonna get people into trouble. Nothing's changed. The chemistry of the batteries is exactly the same. Yes, landing for 2 or 3 minutes is fine, but if you're going to let the packs rest, you are asking for trouble. And it's never been a massive issue in the past, because when they were only lasting 10, 12, 15 minutes, you were less inclined to reuse the battery. You are getting 30 minutes flight time. It's long enough to get cold, wet, and bored. And the reality is there's good reason to want to take 10 minutes of footage, 15 minutes where you are, stop and have 60% left and go and fly again. But I am concerned people are going to start to get themselves into problems. Yeah. They have to be very, very careful. And there's a bit of arguing about this, and my my advice is still stay with the old policy right now, whereas you fly a fully charged battery or you don't fly at all, because it's just not worth the risk. It's that simple. But I also want to talk about the charging system, stuff around the charging, and some stuff we don't fully understand because DJI have done something they've never done before with the batteries. It's USB-C charging, but it supports the power delivery protocol and something called PPS, which is basically constant current charging, the way they always used to charge the batteries. But the bit I'm still investigating is you can supply these batteries with 20 volts and they'll charge. What I don't know is there voltage regulation within the pack to reduce that? Because traditionally there isn't. And the interesting thing here is when you charge the battery from the DJI adapter, it's behaving basically like a constant current charger, where it's bringing the voltage up to match the cells very slowly. So as the current, it maintains the current and brings the voltage to match. And it behaves very much like the old DJI battery chargers. However, you can plug in a power delivery compatible USB-C charger and it goes straight to 20 volt and charges the battery at 20 volt. And what I don't understand is what is being done in the battery to handle that difference, because they can't be banging 20 volts to the cell.
Oh, Ian, it's beyond your pay grades what they do. They are just doing magic. No, they just doing magic. Come on,
because
they have some voltage regulator.
Yeah, but there's never been voltage regulation in the packs before. And these batteries are no bigger. There's been no current regulation and no voltage regulation in any of their packs in the past. All of that was handled in the power supply before.
Yeah.
Now, what we don't know is where that's being handled now, because what's interesting is when they're charging via the DJI adapter, they're charging at traditional voltages, but when they're charging via power delivery, it's going straight to 20 volt. And where is that voltage being brought down? Is it in the pack? Is it in the adapter? Is it in the aircraft? Because you can charge the battery in the aircraft and the adapter. And what the question is, Louis, is there a payoff or downside to charging via power delivery? That's the bit we need to understand, because at £170 a pack, if there is a issue, or not an issue, but a potential for reduction of longevity, we need to understand that. And that's what I'm trying to dig into at the moment.
Okay, look at the Parrot and Effie batteries. They've always been charged by USB.
Yes.
And they do the entire battery management on the USB circuitry. So you could get whatever you wanted and it would charge the same regardless
that's
of
the way
the
they've
power.
Always done it. Yeah, and this is the weird thing though. If DJI were doing that, then why aren't they just supplying 20 volt from their own charger and letting the battery handle it? What's interesting here is their own adapter is behaving in this traditional charge mode, but not the same as power delivery mode. And I do get what you mean, Louis. You know, what you could have done is simply said it's power delivery compatible, and then the battery reduces the 20 volts down to the 16 or 17 to charge. But they're doing two different things depending on what the charger is. And when they're doing that, that raises questions then of, well, where are they handling that difference? Like, for instance, the pack can be charged off 5 volts. So there is clearly switching circuitry to allow the pack to charge the cells individually rather than charge it at full pack voltage. We know the DJI pack charger is charging at full pack voltage because I've checked the voltages and it's 17 or whatever you would expect it to be. You know, it's tracking as the current's going into the battery. So there's a lot more here than we've ever had before, and that's what I'm trying to investigate.
No, you really have to dig in on what other manufacturers. Give me a second, I'll show you what others have been doing for years now.
Yeah, but the question is, are they doing the same as DJI? That is the difference. You know, if you put an appy on charge with an adapter,
these ones, they always were on the battery. So everything is here.
Yeah, but this is the difference. There's no port on the DJI batteries. The battery is still charged via the hub or via the aircraft. So, and look, you know, are they going to put power regulation circuitry into an aircraft with spaces at a premium? That really doesn't make sense.
Why not? Why not? If it is just a few grams,
Yeah, it's not much
then
these days.
It isn't a lot.
it isn't a lot. And
But
when you're
it's
flying,
interesting. It's doing two different things, and that's the bit. If it was just taking power delivery voltage, I wouldn't even dig into it any further. Yeah, where the interesting question is when it's charging off the DJI charger, it's charging via traditional methods, but it also supports power delivery. So they've almost overcomplicated things slightly, if I'm honest, in the way they're charging it, because it's supporting two different methods. There was no real reason to support PPS if they were using power delivery.
oh god,
Overcomplicated or giving the end user?
oh come on.
Well, there are no PPS chargers out there. They're very few and far between. That isn't something that's common. And all PPS is a USB protocol for adjusting the voltage output. So, for instance, power delivery has multiple outputs. You've got 5, 9, 15.4, and 20 off the top of my head. And depending on what the device requests, it can have one of those. There's no variance off them. It can choose one of them. Whereas PPS basically says, hey, give me this voltage, and that's what it does. And it basically allows it to be a fully controllable power supply. But it's not common. It's not used hardly anywhere outside of very, very few chargers. So it is interesting they're doing two separate things here.
Yeah. It's just giving more options to the users and making charging from the lighter of your car easier, because you only need
it just seems odd to choose two different ways of doing it when you could have just chose one. If you see what I mean, they've added.
Does one market, does China support power delivery more than the rest of the world?
Power delivery is pretty standard now. It's what's used on all MacBooks. It's the standard high voltage charging for most devices. You've got multiple different protocols, but they all pretty much the same. Yeah. In my head, and this is the bit I never get out of, they have added this other mode for a reason. They wouldn't have done it if there wasn't good reason. And I just want to make sure that there isn't any downsides to charging via power delivery more than anything.
I would say the downsides would be on the traditional method, where they could do a very fast charging through the traditional methods, because they can.
It's the same current at 20. See, it's still willing to pull 65 watts. So I've checked that, but we'll have to see. But no, there is some interesting things around it. So the battery video is going to come first, and then the review will go up in about a week, 10 days, maybe 2 weeks. I've got the drone till about the middle of January. I've done a lot of flying.
Oh, Ian, that's perfect opportunity. The drone is not yours. You can strip the battery and show us the battery on the inside. Do it live.
Yeah, let's see how the thermal regulation works in that battery, shall we?
I am interested. Yeah, there's no way into them,
and it's got a USB port, even better.
Of course there is.
Well, I wish it did. It does.
A hammer will get you in. Hammer will get you in all day long.
I've flown it a lot in the last week.
Ben's in the comments.
No,
Sorry, Ben.
Sorry, Ben.
Come on,
Ben. Ben, break it, Ben. Come on.
I've flown it a lot.
Get yourself the DJI Care, Ben. It's now or never.
It's now or never. It's an interesting product. My opinion has changed on it, having flown it quite a bit over the last week. I'm still not convinced it's a good upgrade in the sense of from Mavic II users, but it's still the best consumer drone money can buy, without doubt.
Oh God!
But
you became a chill for DJI. What are they paying you now on batteries?
Getting free gaming chairs.
Yeah.
Free gaming chairs. Yeah.
How can it be the best value drone when half?
I didn't say value. There's very different things than value.
But Louis heard from someone that's got one of those new Anafi AIs. Apparently they're better. So you've heard, Louis?
They come with a handbag. They come with a handbag. So
I don't know what.
And it's a Gucci handbag.
Very Gucci. Lots
I
of gold.
I will say this: the live feed on the Mavic III is just astonishing. I mean, they are just so ahead of anyone else now on that wireless video. It's probably 2 to 3 times better than on the Mavic 2. Even
even better than HD0
is just amazing. It's like watching recorded footage back, from the SD card. Their video technology on that side is outstanding. It really is.
Oh God!
But
God!
The problem, and don't get me wrong, right? From what I hear, the stills are really crisp. You're getting in dark light, low light. It's really giving the detail in the shadows as well. I know someone with one. I've been saying to me, but for all its faults, it's not worth the money right now, from what I've been told. It's got too many issues. It should not be actually out there. It's like buying your car, right? And then you get in your car, the radio doesn't work. You know what I mean? You can't use.
Hey, Mark. Mark.
You can't use the.
Yeah, well, I'd counteract that. And I am gonna.
It's called BMW or Tesla.
Yeah, if it's a BMW, you're going to pay for the extra.
Tesla.
Yeah. No. Okay. Today, for instance, I've flown it quite a bit, and I've actually compared it, and I haven't even looked at the data yet. I've taken stills and video in all modes on the Mavic 2, the Mavic 3, and the Inspire 2, all set up next to each other on the ground, not in flight. All images taken at the exact same point in time for comparison purposes, all video recorded at the exact same point in time between all of the available resolutions. So, 4K and 5K. I got no interest in anything below that, but in the varying modes. So HQ mode and non-HQ mode on the Mavic 2, 5.2K, ProRes, 5.2K H.265. I'm not even going to look at H.264. Complete waste of time. It's got H.265. We're going to go with that. And I haven't looked at that yet. But what is interesting is, yes, there's a lot of features missing. None of them I have real interest in as a commercial operator. So as someone who would fly this for a business purpose, there's only 2 things that are missing I need to be able to map the button for the battery screen to come up and better camera options. Everything else I don't care about. The smart shots that are missing, active track doesn't work properly. The reality is a commercial operator does not use any of those features. So if you break it down from that point of view, it doesn't actually feel half-baked. It feels
needs a new webcam. Look.
This is new landing pad.
His webcam.
Yeah, and I'm not going to go into chart. I'm looking at real world, Louis. I'm not putting a chart up for it.
Now, if you want to do a real apples to apples test, you really have to do.
Yeah, I have no interest in the chart because the chart doesn't tell you real world.
Real world's redundant. We're all living in a metaverse now.
No, come on. I did that because you were trying with several DJI. I was trying with DJI, Hotel, and Parrot. And I can tell you that on a blind test, you always choose you'd never choose DJI.
A blind test for a camera, that sounds kind of unintuitive.
Yeah. You know what I mean, Bruce.
Yeah,
so if I remove the EXIF data from the pictures, I can send you a bunch of them, and I'll name them A, B, and C. Taken video and pictures at different distances. We all shot more or less at the same time with the same light, and you never choose DJI. That's amazing.
What I would say, because I can never say his name.
You try his name. Yes. Sorry.
Mandalorian.
Mandalorian. We're going to call him the Mandalorian from now on. What is interesting is I need to look at this again, and I have done some diving into the difference between H.265 and ProRes, and I'll be honest, I can't see any difference at all, and I mean
you
zero
only
difference.
see the difference when you dump the footage on for instance DaVinci.
Yeah, I've done it. That's what I've been doing, Louis.
Yeah,
There's no difference. That's what
very
I'm saying.
scene specific,
because
though.
you're using a super duper computer that can uncompress H.265 on the fly.
I have pre-compressed it. I've done everything, and I'll be honest, I'm not alone in this. A lot of people.
It depends on the scene, though. You try filming at low angle across rippled water in sunlight, and you get all that dappling, that massive constant change of data, the H.264 will fall apart in the
four
ProRes
will, I'm
way.
on about the 5, Bruce.
But even
even
H.265 will start falling
Bloom
apart
has been
because
saying he's been struggling. What we think is there's a lot of processing going on before it's hitting the codecs on either side, and that's what's making it look the same. I want to do some the tests I haven't done yet is the dynamic range test and see how much you can recover from the ProRes compared, because you should have far more in there to be able to pull up in the shadows, for instance, and I'm going to be doing that internal rather than out. But right now, the only reason I see to buy the Cine is if you need to work with ProRes and you can't be bothered to encode H.265, or you want the smart controller.
From bragging rights. Bragging rights. Never underestimate bragging rights.
Bragging rights. It's not a bad drone. I think it's a very good drone, but what I would say is this: the end conclusion, which I'm sort of coming to, is it's the difference between an iPhone 12 and an iPhone 11. And that is really where we're at with the drone.
He always like to let us know he's got an iPhone, doesn't he? Us Android, us lower caste Android folks. He likes to reinforce the fact I'm an iPhone person with a gaming.
I think it's that incremental. You know, is it better? Yes. Is that 1% better? Is that 3% better? It's really hard to quantify. What will come down really, if I would say to anyone with a Mavic 2, the reasons to upgrade is if you want flight time and that smart controller. That's the reasons to upgrade, not for the image quality.
But since you're so versed now on DJI stuff, isn't that smart controller going to be available also for the Mavic 2S?
The rumor, well, not the rumor, they have been selling it in China, yes, with it, but it still hasn't happened in Europe. So they are selling, and this makes sense that they've dumped the smart controller, because at the end of the day, why would they want to manufacture a 2? It doesn't make any sense that they want to manufacture the old one and the new one. It does seem that the RC Pro will be sold with the Air 2S, but that still hasn't landed in UK, Europe, or America. But there are boxes of it in people's hands in China right now, as well as the new Fly More kit that includes the RC Pro rather than the Cine, because they've announced that as well. So at the moment, you could only get the RC Pro with the Cine. You will be able to get a Fly More with the RC Pro as well, but we're going to have to see what pricing is. The remote is extremely expensive right now. £900.
When I start seeing this rumor of the Mini 3 arriving tomorrow, who started this rumor?
Well, they've put a thing out to say you can win the first new product of 2022. Okay. Now, they haven't said what it is, but I'll be honest, if we look at what has released recently, we've had the Osmo Action 2, we've had the new, what's the handheld one? The
Ronin.
No, the little one. The camera gimbal.
Oh, the Osmo.
The Osmo Mobile. Whatever they call it. We've had that. There hasn't been an Osmo Pocket 2. So they could do that. That could be the next one. But if it's none of them, then we're talking drones.
Indie filters for the drones. You win indie filters for the drones.
They're not going to release something on January the 1st, are they?
No, I don't think it then. I think it'll be between January and March. If there's anything, I'll be honest, if it's anything, it'll be the FPV. It'll be
Ian is becoming a true YouTuber. Is giving you a wide prediction between January and March.
Something will happen next year. We're not saying what it is, but we know it's going to happen.
I think I have that video out there. That's my video, isn't it? The Mini 3 is like,
please, viewers,
I've seen it as well.
hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button and the bell of notifications.
Join my Discord and my Patreon. You'll get advanced warning of what's happening.
If you join my Patreon, best tell me where it is.
If you find Gary's Patreon, please send him an email with the link so he can log back.
Tell me where it is.
In fact, Gary pays you to join his Patreon.
Probably.
It's the only Patreon where you make money. But yeah, we don't know what it is. It could be a Mini. Do I think they do? When did the Mini 2 come out? It was middle of the year, wasn't it?
Oh, come on. Wolf is right. Wolf is right on the comments. It's the Phantom.
Phantom 7,
Perhaps the Phantom Menace.
Well, I don't know how. I just that one.
They're not going to give away an Inspire 3.
Vegas believes they're going to do something on
What's
January.
The oldest?
They gave away so many other things. Who got free FPV drones?
What's the oldest drone on the lineup? It's the Phantom.
It is the Phantom, but I'm just not convinced.
That's gone on. That's gone on. The Phantom's gone on. No more.
I think
we need a DJI drone with the shutter like the Phantom. Period.
we do.
Yes.
We do. What we
Yes,
actually
yes.
need as well. Do you know what one of the biggest running issues is with the DJI drone at the moment?
It's
I'll put it
We
out
know
there.
it's fellas.
besides being DJI and
Not their
being
software.
forbidden.
No. So come on, you guys have all. So of all the DJI models, there's one, and it's been around a while, and it's still got a problem. And you have to do this before you take off every flight. Would you like
That
to
could be
guess
any of
which
them.
problem it is?
Switch it on. Switch it on.
No. It is the Mavic II Enterprise Advance. Every time you take a battery, doesn't matter if you've done this before or not, you put it in it, you turn it on, you have to do the firmware update before you can fly every time. And that battery, you could have done it the day before, you could have done it 2 hours before, you will be doing that firmware update because DJI don't seem to be able to fix one simple little thing with it. It's
they probably don't know about it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure they know
that's
that.
a long remainder in there.
That-
They don't
that-
believe they exist.
No, that means they really don't care about the drone because so few people bought it that
Yeah.
they
Do you know
couldn't
what the
give
truth
a damn.
is? Do you know what it is? They don't bloody fly their own aircraft. That's what that is. It's a classic example of the first time someone turned it on in their HQ, that would come up. So you can't tell me they're flying it if they're ignoring that problem. The reality is they're not flying their own aircraft a lot of the time. And I've always said a lot of their development is based in software. I've always had this feeling that a lot of their testing, they have a lot of virtualized environments for doing a lot of their firmware updates and things. And
And that's the right way to do it. Sorry, Ian.
The Metaverse again.
To a point,
Metaverse.
Louis, but you've got to put a battery in a piece of hardware at some point.
Come on,
there's probably
that's so
nobody
much,
left.
so overrated. Come on, you get PlayStation 5, you get Xbox, you get just simulated there. Come on, even Flight Simulator is now on the Xbox. So, what's your issue with that?
Yeah, but you think about it. I've had a look at DJI's HQ and places like this, and you look at there's no big cages outside where they fly aircraft. There's no big open parks. For a company that makes drones, you would assume one of the main fundamental things they'd need is a very big area where they can fly and test their aircraft. And I do wonder how much of this, considering all of the issues we've had over the years, with silly bugs on this and that, I do wonder how much of everything is done in virtualized software environments. And that's why these things happen.
Well, if you look at, say, Ben from 3DXR, right, he builds drones for people, builds the fixed wings, he takes them out and he has to fly them before he can give them to the client. He will actually go out, check it, do all the tests. I mean, I know...
He was in a field the other day when I was talking to him.
Yeah.
He's outstanding in the field.
Fly. Yeah, yes.
Field of his own.
Field of his own.
Did you see the Foxtex video they put out? -5 degrees out there testing their drones in the cold, and I felt so sorry for them.
They're still fall apart though. Unless you
Yeah,
take
but
them apart and
not in the
rebuild
cold.
them all.
Not
The ice holds them together.
Ice
Can I
holds them
just say,
together.
the Phantom 4 Pro does fly in -15 degrees. I tell you, that's cold, and that was like in Kazakhstan. That was a bit nippy, I reckon.
Yeah, even penguins can't fly in weather that cold, eh?
Oh, good link. Well done.
It's really interesting because the river's completely frozen. So I'm overflying the river, and there's people like with big. They just screw and they for ice fishing. Oh, it's just crazy. But yeah, -15.
Archimedes was there.
Yes. Well, I didn't. We've gone 38 minutes talking about DJI stuff, and I didn't mean to at all. Because the reason I put
Hey, please put this segment has been sponsored by DJI.
Are they paying you yet, Gary, for this?
No, not quite. no.
And no word from a sponsor.
If you would like to sponsor this DJI section, please.
Yeah. Ian will sing the praises of DJI.
I don't sing the praises of anyone. I tell them.
Oh no!
But that's how we
You are a
started.
full
That's how we
orchestra.
started. That's how we started.
That's how we started this conversation. And what I actually meant to start this was before we went on air was shilling stuff other than the chair and DJI stuff. and reviews, and the fact that we've all been offered stuff to review, and being honest is not what most reviewers do. That's how we started this conversation. As if I started and stopped it in one go, or are we going to discuss it now?
Well, yeah,
No, we're moving on. Now.
Anyway, moving on. Moving on.
you know, I think we should. If you're going to be fair here, Bruce set the standard on this stuff of reviewers who say how it is, and regardless of what it is, because I think at times people forget Bruce, whilst a big RC YouTuber, is also a very long-term YouTuber in itself, regardless of the hobby. Bruce and David Evie blog and those guys have been around a very, very long time, and sort of set the standard on how to make friends and influence people is probably the right term to use, Bruce.
That's why we can do so many push-ups.
It's why you can do so many push-ups. But yeah, it's a tough position. You know, I don't do a lot of reviews. It's very rare I do. This is a review. Most of what I do is an overview, but there's no question that if you're going to say how things are, it has an impact. And that impact is manufacturers don't treat you the way they did before. And I think I'm probably feeling a little bit of that this year because of some of the stuff we've had to call out. But at the end of the day, that was done for the right reason. And those reasons were when a company is screwing users over, someone at some point has to say something. You give them a fair amount of time to correct it. You're going to say, look, you know, highlight it, put it into someone's hands. But if 3, 4, 5 months later, something is fundamentally bad, then every person who does this should call that out. And it's sad that most don't. That's the reality.
You see, I take the thing where if there's always someone and they're a reviewer, so they review stuff, if they say this is the best thing since sliced bread every single time, and they never list the cons, so they're always about the pros, and they completely skip over the cons, and you work this out, that person, this is going to sound a bit harsh, they are a suck up or dash a sellout, where you've got to go, right, okay, this product is great, but these are the things you really have got to watch out for. Because if you just say something's good all the time, and that's the problem. Quite right. Don't back the hand that feeds you. But, you know, it's like either you're honest or you're going to be a bit of a sellout, if you like. And you've got to take a bit of a stand, as Ian has this year and Bruce does. You know, these guys tell you the actual niggles and stuff, what's really, really going on. And it's nice to see that. I don't want to go to a reviewer where they just go, this new Mavic 3 is the best thing since sliced bread. It's the best aircraft ever. And yeah, it's got these bits that are not quite right with it, that are completely skipped over because they don't want to upset the big fish. You know, if you upset DJI, they'll never get another thing. They're just a cop out and it's selling out. And if
the problem is they have to. These days, and with YouTube revenues being just, you know, an add-on, you can't live off YouTube revenues unless you're PewDiePie. A lot of the people have to make money out of affiliate links, and there's no point in reviewing a product, spending all that time, effort, and doing a review if it's a bad product, if you can't capitalize on your affiliate link, because no one's going to buy it. If you just said this is a real crap product, the affiliate link in your description is not going to earn you a cent. So they tend to focus on the things that, you know, they can they'll hype them up and they'll make the money out of the affiliate links. And that's just the way it goes. It can't be changed. So YouTube is partly to blame for this. There was a time when reviewers could be brutally honest and live off their YouTube earnings. They can't do it anymore. Patreon's filled the gap a little bit, but I noticed that for a long time, a lot of the manufacturers are sending out, especially the Chinese ones, sending out stuff to anyone that had a YouTube channel. Review this. And of course, they got the usual, this is great, buy from the link. But I think they're backing off that a bit now because there's so many reviews out there that are just advertising that get like 20 views. They realize we're not getting a return on that investment anymore. So it's and I noticed that, you know, I sort of burnt the bridge with FreeSky by daring to suggest that one of their products wasn't very good and that their switch to the new protocol was not in the interests of the hobby, but in the interests of FreeSky. So that basically disconnected me from them, but I was prepared to take that. And subsequently, I have done good and bad reviews. Interesting to note that I've just done a couple of reviews of products that are really quite good. I really enjoyed them, and so did everyone else that looked at them. And those reviews went up a couple of days ago, and my mailbox is now full of companies saying, could you review our product? Could you review our product? Thinking perhaps that I am one of the shill reviewers, because I've done 2 good reviews in a row. And so they're still looking for people that can promote their products in return for, hey, we'll give you a commission. And it's not going to change for a while.
But they come with, by the way, we want you to say this, do this, and we want to review it first. And
yeah, some of them do. Some of them do. This is how this is the title we want on the review. These are the points we want you to cover, and we want you to run it by us first, just to make sure there are no factual errors. And when I get those things, I'm sorry, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
You know, sorry, what would be great is they send you something to review, be it Ian or Bruce or someone with the knowledge. They go, right, guys, can you review this for us? We want your honest review, but what we would like you to do is, you see, I don't even watch Casey's stuff. I don't even look at it. I've seen like 2 videos, and I don't even watch Casey. It's not real. It's not real world stuff. It's all, that is one of those
Metaverse.
There for just yes.
I do like Casey, but for what he's achieved more than anything.
He's achieved a lot. But what I was saying is, so honest reviews should be, you've got the item, you give them feedback. You go, look, I'm doing my YouTube review. I am going to point these things out, but I'm going to let you know in advance so you can look at them, and I can go in my review. Look, I've explained the niggles, and hopefully they're going to look at these. And this is a response I got saying they're going to look at this, blah blah blah. That kind of thing would be better instead of just going, it's the best thing since sliced bread.
It's a tough one, because you've all, like, I'm lucky, unlike Bruce, this doesn't pay my bills. So at the end of the day, if I get fed up tomorrow, I stop. There's nothing there's no responsibility outside of the responsibility I put on myself. And I do feel that at times. I'll be honest, there are periods where I feel I've taken on too much, or I get a bunch of videos which I know I've got to get done, and it becomes stressful. It does become difficult at times, and it's something I'm having to manage more and more as the channel has grown. But I can pull the plug at any moment in time. What I do like is, Bruce sets sort of, Patreon was Bruce's way forward. That works for a lot of people. It's interesting. I've been looking around, and what has become really big is merch, but not traditional merch, in the sense of, you've got Dave with the EV blog doing his multimeters, which I think he could probably live off the sales of those meters now, Bruce, let alone anything else for the amount of them he's shipping out these days. I've ordered one myself just to support him. And you've got the likes of Gamers Nexus, who are making mod mats and desktop mouse mats and stuff around it. And I think the safe way to survive now is not rely on manufacturers, is to actually do something that people can buy to support you with. You can't rely on a manufacturer, because they can pull the plug at any moment, and they have and will. And it's not even if you upset them. All it takes is a marketing budget change. All it takes, for a manufacturer to want to deal with you all of the time at, say, DJI's level, you've got to be climbing mountains and going out. And something I've said a number of times is, look at what these guys are doing and have a think of who is paying for that. So you've got a Mavic 3 review where the guy takes it to Italy for a week. Who's paying for that? Because it isn't the YouTube income. It isn't Patreon. Someone's having to pay for that. So it is tough. And, I've got to find something different this year. Something has to change, because I'm at the stage where the income is barely enough to keep buying products to talk about. When you're dealing with very few manufacturers, you're then left at either spending out of your own pocket, which is what I do most of the time. But if I want to continue to do things, at the end of the day, we are material girls in a material world, and we need income. And look, talking about money on YouTube is interesting, because everyone thinks everyone makes loads of money. It really doesn't. Unfortunately, I've got to pay my tax bill this week for last year, because it's still taxable income. I've still got to pay that. So by the time I've done that, yes, I've made money this year. It wouldn't even cover a basic Mavic 3. So
you can write off all those burnt batteries and broken USB ports.
I can write a bit of it off, but everything I've set on fire. But here's the genuine truth: the income from my channel this year was not £2,000. So how do you make videos about £4,000 products, £5,000 products. One of the reasons I've sort of pivoted to FPV a bit more, and I've always done, the first video I ever made on my channel was about FPV, ironically, and a lot of my content was FPV, but I've pivoted because it's cheaper. The reality is it has good viewership, and it's a much lower bar for me to be able to buy products and talk about. You're buying £50 flight controllers, £70 motors. So the income on a monthly basis allows me to do that stuff. But that's not to say it's enough to keep the channel moving forward. And it's a hard situation. I feel for anyone doing this genuinely not relying on manufacturers. It would scare the hell out of me to have to go full time. I can say
Dan brought up a good point. I mean, like Joshua Bardwell diversifies. I mean, I diversify. I have all my different reviews, and I have the fun at the flying field, and then my advocacy for the hobby. If I wasn't as diverse, I don't think I would be able to keep as much content going and to retain contact with as large a group of people as I do. Because in essence, FPV is an incredibly small community, and even if you were the top of the line FPV content producer, you're not going to make a lot of money. In fact, probably the most lucrative revenue earner is Bot Grinder. He has done a really good job. He doesn't have ads on his YouTube channels, and he's got hundreds of Patreons, some of them paying $10 a month. And I would imagine, I've got no idea, but I imagine he's raking in quite a good bit of money from his Patreon, and he's got some merch, some motors and some caps and things. I think he's doing pretty well out of what he does because he has carved himself a niche, and he's got a very big chunk of a very small market. You can either have a very small chunk of a large market or a big chunk of a small market. But having a small chunk of a small market, you're wasting your time.
Yeah, and that's the problem, is it? And look, JB's a really interesting thing. He has done very, very well. He is the enigma in this. He's been in early, but took a specific direction, which was beta flight and following how to do that, and then FPV. And he has set the standard. But there's no point trying to do what JB's done, because no one can beat JB at what he's doing. It's a waste of time. Anyone who sits there and wants to talk about beta flight and all of that lot, there's lots of great channels out there, UAV tech, talking about tuning and other stuff, and really niche stuff like that people like. But the reality is, no one can do JB better than JB. So,
if you look at Pavel Spachowski, I mean, he's looking at beta flight and stuff, but he gets hundreds of views, and Joshua gets tens of thousands of views. It's the difference between having a small chunk of a small market and a big chunk of a small market. So you're really choosing. I would hate to be starting a YouTube channel today. In fact, I probably would not bother, because you just will not gain any headway out there, because, well, our hobby itself has peaked. It's in a decline now. I think, as I mentioned in a recent video, CIA in New Zealand didn't even bother issuing any advice for new drone operators, because they realize probably not many people are going to be buying drones this year.
Yeah,
it's interesting. We're at the end of a year, and it's time to sort of look back at what I've done this year. For me, what I'm going to do is have a bit of time out in January, and I've got some content stacked up. That's my plan. I'm trying to get the Mavic 3 thing done, but I've got some content stacked up, and then I want to see, okay, where do we get the next 3,000 subscribers? Because we've gained 3.5 this year. So what do I do now, and how do I then make it valuable for them?
Go to TikTok. Go to TikTok.
No, TikTok.
I have
do reviews on TikTok. Don't forget to dance and sing.
Yeah.
I have one big problem. I have a full-time life outside of this channel, which compromises the amount of time I can put in. I have a proper job and life and everything, and that is my priority. That always comes first. And then a lot of the time I'm in this garage doing stuff either late at night or when I've got 5 minutes free on weekends. And there is a point where I will struggle to keep doing everything. And that point is getting close. And I don't know what I do at that point, because, the channel's growing more and more. Do you keep trying to feed the monster that it is? Or do you say, right, this is what I'm going to do, and that's what I'm going to set my stable out?
You need an intern.
An intern. Genuinely, I'm looking at what options there are for not merch, but maybe something that is unique to me that can help bring in income on the channel, because income is the number one problem.
What about a fast charger for lipos?
No, I know what you guys need.
Firebrand.
Man's lipo burner.
For Bruce and for Ian, I now know what you both need to do. I'm actually going to put it in our chat.
Oh,
goodness
we
me.
were there, just so you can then laugh before you tell everyone what I'm going to suggest you both go into and create, because it's going to be that hilarious.
it's either porn, or something borderline illegal.
I'm starting my porn channel. I'm just waiting for the macro lens to arrive.
It's interesting because I've been watching some of the other channels. Not, I don't mean visit, but what's funny is you get a new product release and then all these channels creep back out the woodwork and then they all fall away again. There is an exodus from drone channels right now, and they're diversifying into things like hoovers,
And we were ahead of that because
cameras,
people pre-left this channel.
We started behind the curve and we're finishing there.
Exactly. Yeah. That means eventually you'll be ahead of it, won't you?
I just got to 1,000 subscribers, and then someone unsubscribed, so I went down to 999.
Let's do that right now. Let's do that right now. Yeah.
I went. Well, my response was, "Well, I'm glad you did it because I can't do it. So I can't bring myself down one." But they had to do it for me. So I'm quite happy for them to do it.
That's easy, Mark. I'll send you the link to get some scripts where you can create Google accounts, and those Google accounts will subscribe to you, and you just random and runs at nauseum.
There are some kind people in India will do that for you for a small fee.
We've never, and any of the SUS News grown up stuff, pretending to be grown up stuff, we've never done that. We've never bought in any sort of subs for any of the things, be the emails or whatever. But I am astonished. This year has seen the rise of people trying to sell me lists of attendees from shows. Never had it before. This show, that show, the other show. I am astounded. This year's, you have it as well, obviously, Ian, but it's just this year it started.
You
properly.
Cannot imagine the number of hours that those lists cause on marketing meetings.
I would never, but I wouldn't want, if I go to a show, I don't sign up to have my details sold, my name, my address, my social status and all that stuff. I would never, but it's not a good business plan for me to ignore stuff like that. But I can't do it because
I've got a load of Gary as well. It's almost been weekly. And Norton. Apparently, I now have 500 subscriptions to Norton Antivirus that they keep taking money from my bank account every week. Just keep getting these emails saying you've resubscribed to Norton. That and attendees lists. That's all I seem to have got this year. Someone mentioned about sponsors. That's a real tough one because, just to give you an idea, and Bruce probably gets more than me. I probably get about 40 emails a week.
Hold on, is Ben still on the chat? Let's get Ben to sponsor you. Come on.
He already is through the provision of a craft.
We have some luck. We have some fantastic dealers and companies who do support us on a weekly basis. We wouldn't be able to make half the content without them. Taking official sponsorship is difficult. You get so many scamming stuff. It's ridiculous. Like 40 emails a week saying we want to work with you. Please download this file, and it's all scams to try and steal your YouTube channel. I'm not against it, but it would have to be the right thing. Nord.
Did you see why YouTube actually changed YouTube Studio? Did you actually see the announcement on that? It was because even with two-factor authentication enabled, scammers could steal your channel with the old Studio, and they didn't have the wherewithal to change it, so they made a new one. So YouTube security, fantastic. But it's been the year of ransomware and stealing stuff. Ian and I have to start our camera channel, cameras in the dark or blind leading the blind or whatever we call it. We'll have to do that because that will provide hours of boredom for people who can't sleep.
Well, just going to the thing of stealing stuff, we should mention the two big thefts that have happened.
Yes.
One in America. What did they do there, Ian? If you could just remind me for the American one.
Yeah, Pyrodrone, who are a pretty big drone stroke FPV company, predominantly FPV, were turned over on Christmas Day, very sadly. a couple of folks pitched up with a big box truck, is what, a Sherpa would be the term I'd use in the UK. Quite a big, so almost a small lorry. And they literally emptied them out, which is a massive shame. There's no numbers yet on cost or quantity, but that was on Christmas Day. And it's very sad because a lot of that stuff won't be traceable. It won't be easy. It's not.
And it won't have returned to home either.
It's different. But then we've also yesterday or last night, I think it is, the Drone Safe Register store, which is, where is it, Mark? Do you know where they are?
It's
I was there last night.
It's Chichester, just outside Southampton.
Oh God, you really know where it is, Mark. That's suspicious.
Very sadly, they were turned over last night. What it looked like is a builder's sack.
A big blue bag.
A big blue sort of ton bag sand type sack, for anyone in the UK who knows what they are, of DJI product, mostly Mavic 3s, couple of Minis 2s. Hopefully they're going to be able to disable them via the serial number system. DJI do have history on doing this. So when a lorry load of DJI drones, a container of DJI drones went missing a few years ago, they also disabled them all. And it wasn't long. It was only about 3-4 weeks later they started popping up on Facebook on the support pages with people saying, I bought this drone and it won't activate. And that was because it was one of the stolen ones and DJI had blocked it from activation. So I think they're going to hopefully do that if they've not done it already, which will mean if anyone does buy one, it will be bricked. There will be no unlocking it. There will be no amount of begging, asking, or saying, well, I bought it legitimately. If it's blocked, it's blocked. That's a one-way street.
And it won't work with my stolen iPhone. But surely these businesses have insurance which should cover most of their losses.
They have. I know Mark has said he's well insured. Mark Boyd, I think it is, that the drone said.
Yes.
Boyd? He has said they're well insured, but it's still a kick in the balls for anyone, because it's not just about the insurance. It's about the fact someone's obviously gone through the doors. It's just a bad show. Over.
And it's really bad because he'll have customers, and this has got to be one of the toughest things in the background. He's going to have customers that have ordered this stuff, and he would have been shipping it out. People have gone on Christmas Day, ordered a Cine 3 or a Mavic 3, and he's going to have to phone them and go, "Look, I'm really sorry, we've been turned over," and it's.
I do, I think with Mark. Sorry.
Didn't we say, though, that bad actors won't use their own drones, they'll steal them?
Yeah, well, we have said that. From Mark's point of view, I'm guessing from the Drone Safe Register, they won't be high volume, but they're high cost. So, if they've stolen 3 Mavic 3 Cines, that's £10,000 near enough there. With Pyro Drone, it appears to have been a very large amount of stock. Again, people purchasing over the Christmas period, they're not going to be able to. And I just hope both companies can survive. I don't think it's going to affect Drone Safe Register at all. They've said they're very secure. They're very insured for that stuff. I hope Pyrodrone are all right, because when you see the lorry that they've put on the CCTV footage, it's huge. Do you know?
All I've got to do is break down those boards, pull the STM32s out, and they've got millions of dollars in parts.
That's what they bought for us, Chip. The lucky thing, I suppose, with both of these companies, maybe not in the US, because that one almost feels a bit more targeted, but especially with the Drone Safe Register, I suspect these are not people that really know what they're doing from a drone point of view. My bets are it's somebody who thinks, oh, this is a good idea, they're worth a few quid, we can sell them. So hopefully that will mean they'll get picked up fairly quickly, because they're not going to be that easy to shift. But the problem is the risk for people thinking, I'm buying, I was given this for Christmas, I'm going to sell it brand new, sealed in its box. So
they'll take them on, they'll hand them on to a geofence.
Well, now
people are going to buy them because they see as a good opportunity, and the guys that are going to pay him are the guys that are going to lose in the end, because then they will try to activate it. The robbers don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, speaking to those Christmas drones, trying to do a segue, and it didn't work. But the reason I say just be nice here is I have been quite disappointed at the comments I've seen aimed at people with their brand new drones that have flown away this Christmas. I know Christmas Day is becoming known as Drone Flyaway Day, but come on, people, let's be kind. And funnily enough, on Christmas Day, we came back from visiting a friend's. Coming through the village, there's a little playing field
Did
down
you
the
get a
bottom
friend
of the
for
village.
Christmas? What a wonderful, thoughtful gift that is. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I said to Sarah, what was that? Just hit the football post on the playing field as we drove by. And I looked around, I knew it was something, I plainly see something had flown into it. And I thought, well, there was nobody looking obviously nearby. And I thought, well, we'll just turn up this other lane where there's sort of a housing estate. And yet, lo and behold, about 500 meters away, there was a father, his brother, and a 5-year-old boy that we know looking in the side. So we actually saw a flyaway hit a goalpost. But I'm very disappointed with our community at large at how nasty they are to people who have lost these things. And their first post is, "Oh help! What do I do?" And a lot of these people that are leaving these dreadful, this is a long rant, isn't it? That are leaving these dreadful comments have only had their DJI whatever for 6 months. They're only a few yards ahead of whoever it is. I don't know. Have you guys been picking up a lot of the flyaway posts this Christmas?
I haven't seen too many flyaways. I've seen 2 or 3. I'm
mainly just police, isn't it?
Yeah.
I must admit, I was guilty the other day when someone asked if they need a SIM card in their drone. It's like no one reads the manual anymore. Honestly, It's like the one thing the CAA and the FAA all say about sub 250 YASA, they all say about sub 250 is read the manual. No one reads their manuals anymore.
It's just not a very good Starlink dish. Is that a new Starlink dish?
No, it's a probe for a spectrum analyzer, isn't it?
It's got
I don't know,
Yeah.
He's got to keep
Sorry,
that
I was
secret.
just checking something whilst you guys were talking. I was listening, but I was checking. So I was pointing it the other way. I'm trying to track down something.
This is flyway drone.
No,
It's Mavic 3 is trying to track, isn't it?
Come on, hang on.
Are you seeing if the neighbor has a TV license?
No, I've got some random signals that are doing my head in when I'm trying to.
Now, all right, I can help. I can help.
Just
now.
like the American embassies.
All right,
Where they're coming from.
what are we looking for? What are we looking for, Ian? I can help as well. Where is
They're
it?
over there.
What is it? Hang on.
You're on the wrong wavelength, Gary.
That's
Oh,
the
am I?
triangulation. So you need Bruce now to get an antenna so you can do proper triangulation between the 3 of you.
Read. Yeah, read.
I'm too close.
I can't remember which one this is. Oh, this is my 433 one. This is just for tracking animals, and yeah, I'll point it at this lot. That's the animals. No, I just think there's been lots of too much negativity, and a lot of these people have been shut down are potentially new, like the little boy that flew. It was those silver. It was fixed wing, but. You know, they're the potential error modelers of the future. Let's not jump on them. Yeah, 433. Yeah,
Not if the regulators have their way, they're not.
The thing is, most of those flyaways are from El Cheapo drones that you get at the supermarket.
Spain should be banned from making drones.
El Cheapo.
I mean, I do
Is that
feel
a DVB antenna?
No, it's a directional RF.
No,
probe,
it's a
isn't it?
wide band, 0 to 6 gigs directional.
Yeah.
0 to 6 gigs. It must be awful at either end.
Is it a log periodic?
It's a very good bit of kit, to be honest, which isn't mine. It's on loan. Half my life is on loan. I'm really good at getting people to lend me things.
Oh, another band.
It's not a metaverse. It's a lenderverse.
I've got an annoying set of signals which cause me problems on 2.4 gig when I'm trying to measure stuff and I'm trying to figure out where the hell they are, basically, because they're not in this room, and I'm just trying to figure
Neighbors'
out.
Wi-Fi.
It's not behaving like Wi-Fi. It's a sped sprack. It's similar to a Wi-Fi carrier, but it's dragging itself across the band, which it's almost scanning to check for a best channel, but traditionally Wi-Fi won't do that when it's sitting. It should be sitting on a fixed channel. Wi-Fi should
a smart door ring bell door.
It could be something. It's dragging the whole. I'll show you what it's doing with it. I can share my screen, can't I, Gary?
Yeah.
And let me find how to do that. Let me just find them out.
Yeah. How very dare you, but how very accurate. Yes.
Yes, but
CQDX.
Da-di-da. It's very true.
Right,
But that said,
can you see that?
Hang on, I was just repeating us at the moment, so you have to change whatever you're sharing.
Oh, are there?
Ooh, it's the time tunnel.
Is it sharing now?
No.
Oh.
No, it's still us going to us.
Okay, well, there. Stop. Let me just do it again and do it as a window. Let's see if that works.
I feel so recursive.
Oh God! And these guys want to do sponsored content.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Oh, nice one,
right.
Ian.
Okay, so if you look, there's a. Can you see it pinging?
Was that it then? Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know what these are. I think these are wireless video cameras. I think they're analog, whatever they are, because that's not digital. But it's whatever this is moving around right in the middle of the 2.4 gigs band. It's very frustrating, if I'm honest.
I've been playing with the SDR Angel the last couple of days, and that seems pretty good at decoding lots of sorts of digital modes. So you might be able to grab hold of it.
Clearly, it's like a 20 megs signal. It's fairly big, but the odd thing is it's not here, so it's not actually permanently transmitting. Whatever it is randomly sending packets of data, then stopping again.
A wireless camera or a doorbell.
Sounds like the British postal system.
I was going to say a T minor, but it's in the wrong frequency band.
Well, it's right in the middle of 2.4 gigs, so it's license free, whatever it is. But it's annoyingly right in the middle of everything, as well as these three. But these look almost like analog video carriers. These three.
Makes you want to wear a tinfoil hat, doesn't it?
It does make you wonder at times.
I think one of those must be my third jab of the C19.
It's definitely aliens.
Mandalorian is correct. It's obviously aliens.
I've turned everything off in here that's got wireless, and it's still happening. So I'm like, it's not in this room.
It's pretty amazing these days. Well, I guess lots of stuff's always been out there. You just haven't easily had the means to spot it, track it, or decode it. And now it's almost trivial for a lot of modes.
Yeah. So this goes to show that when RID comes out, if it does come out, this goes to show that RID, you'll be able to find the signal quite happily and start decoding them to put them out onto the internet. So it's going to be complete.
Well, that's if it's a drone, but this isn't a drone. This is the funny thing, and it's
yes. So you'll have to walk around the neighbourhood looking for a new camera that's been installed.
No, just needs to stand in two places and triangulate.
Yeah, or use that Kraken SDR. Quite fancy. They can send me one of those to review. Have you seen that with the 5 antennas and five receivers?
One for each G.
One for each G. That's right.
That'll bring down airliners. You know, more dangerous than drones is 5G at bringing down airliners. Now we've got a new scapegoat.
Have you seen the proposed NOTAMs for it as well in America?
Yeah.
No. What's this?
Well, they're going to NOTAM the airfields with the problem, and then the radius around the airfields with the problem, and it's like, oh, that'll be all of America then.
What do they mean, a problem?
It's a problem with Bruce will correct me, but with the radar altimeters.
They use a very basic ranging system, which is quite broadband, and it's susceptible to out-of-band signals, which is 5G, because 5G is right next door to this radio altimeter band, C-band, I think it is. And so anything that's nearby actually gives a spurious reading because the altimeter just looks at the whole band, and when it sees a frequency sort of away from its transmitted frequency. It takes that as being an altitude, and so it'll have all sorts of random altitudes coming up. People are using 5G, even though the 5G signal is outside the authorized band. It's basically aviation technology. It's decades old. It's out of date. It was built for an era when there was no interference, and now it has to cope with out-of-band interference, and it can't handle it.
So did we also, talking of manned aviation, did you see the sad incident with the Learjet?
Yes.
Where
and the paraglider.
And oh, for God's sake. So we had
and the ice block.
Yeah, now the ice block one I don't quite understand, because as far as I was aware, planes don't fly 1,000 feet apart. They fly a bit more apart than that, I thought.
Isn't it ATC? There's west versus east, and you have 1,000 feet separation depending on your direction.
Well, not only that, but if you're flying, say, to the States, they'll have one plane up here, one plane back here. But if you're going the other way, you're offset by about 2 miles or something. You're not
crosswind.
So they're flying. They don't bring them within 1,000 feet if they're flying like this. That doesn't happen. They are spread apart quite a distance. So where did that ice come from? Because
the toilet.
They normally stack
blue.
them they must have been going like that. So it must have come off the front one to hit the back one. I don't know.
Wow.
But if you do transatlantic flights, you'll see. You look out your window, you can see the planes 2 miles away going the other way. They're not 1,000 feet from you. They're a damn sight further out.
Yeah, it's 5,000 feet when you're oceanic, I think, from memory.
Yeah,
memory serves right.
Yeah, they're not.
And how do they know it was 1,000 feet then? I mean, how do they know it was ice? How do they know it was 1,000 feet? How do they know all these things? They're just like, how do they know it wasn't a drone? I'm picking it was a drone.
Yeah,
I think it was a drone.
Definitely.
Because it did leave from Gatwick. Maybe it caught it on the way out.
Well, we've had another 2 or 3 fatalities here, and it is time to take that. I think that's kind of our best defense. That's a terrible thing to say.
Well,
it's a good point to take to regulators that, come on, we're not really as dangerous as, that's where I'm trying to go. So you're supposed to pick it up and run with it now.
I don't know what you mean.
It is a case of now
carrying a coconut. There you go. There are more coconut-related deaths every year than shark. But anyway.
So here's the crazy thing. If we remember a bit ago, I think it's 6 months ago, there was that Phantom 4 Pro RTK that fell out the sky. It was doing the network rail job, fell out the sky, and the Air Accident Investigation Board said, because of that, and it came within 10 meters of someone, it should not overfly. Drones should not overfly because it came within 10 meters. So having all these accidents for manned aviation, it's like manned aviation has this accepted risk of you're going to die when you fly. There seems to be this thing where the regulators now are quite happy to accept that if someone gets in a plane, you don't have to have as many safety devices on board, like electronic conspicuous, that you don't have to see the other aircraft that's literally in controlled airspace, and 2 aircraft can hit each other like this.
What a fantastic simulation that was.
There's a million hours in the render farm, that was.
but they seem to accept that, okay, we'll just investigate it and we'll just go da da da.
Well, I mean,
I know there's more to it, don't get me wrong. I don't want to be blasé about it. But
Bruce made a very good point, which is unusual for Bruce. Really unusual. In the video that you released earlier today, I can't remember the title of it, I'm afraid. But at the end of the day, that paraglider or the creator of an ultralight can fly around in Class G airspace, relatively free of all sorts of restrictions. We make something that weighs 251 grams, and suddenly we are going to be into RID, and we are going to be into subject to all sorts of rules, much more. I know skin in the game.
The one thing that's been overlooked, though, by everybody is the intrinsic level of risk. That's been discounted. They're assuming that drones are every bit as dangerous as a manned aircraft, when we know the intrinsic levels of risk are orders of magnitude different, as proven by many, many years of hard evidence now. But they're not taking that into account. That has to be one of the key factors in producing regulation. Drones, the regulation has to be proportionate to risk, and the intrinsic level of risk is the baseline where you start from. And the differences are enormous between manned and unmanned aviation. Every time you hoist someone's big fat backside into the air, you run the risk of splattering it all over the ground and possibly killing someone in the process.
So here we go then. I've actually got a severity of risk assessment just come up on me. I don't know how to share it. I'm sorry. But let's say 1 is extremely improbable and 5 is frequent. So 2 is improbable, 3 is remote, 4 is occasional, 5 is frequent. Now, on that scale, manned aircraft hitting another manned aircraft. What is the chance? Now, is it extremely improbable? Have manned aviation proven it's extremely improbable? Yes or no? No?
No,
Not in the last couple of years, yeah.
Is it improbable? Is it improbable that manned aviation will hit manned aviation? Is it improbable?
It's unlikely.
So is it 3? It's a remote chance that it could possibly happen that you'll hit another manned aircraft. Is it remote?
It's probably a 2 or a 3, isn't it? It's a 2.
Yeah.
It's a 2.
Is it? So it's improbable. You're saying it's manned aviation hitting manned aviation is improbable this year? I don't think so. I think
but you got to weigh it up against the number of total flights involved. You can say, well, I've had a lot of crashes, but there's been millions of flights, so it is a small number.
Okay, so you think it's improbable. So for a drone, then it's extremely improbable. it's a 1 for the drone, then.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you got to go to consequence.
Yeah. So 5 is catastrophic. Now with manned aviation, it's always going to be a 5, isn't it?
Exactly.
So it's always it's always under review. With the drone, what's the chance of it happening? Will it be negligible, minor, major?
You mean the outcome? You mean the consequence will be very low? We're proven, but through actual evidenced instances, all the evidenced instances of drones colliding with manned aircraft have produced a 1. A 1.
So negligible.
Yeah.
The aircraft's not going to fall out of the sky. So it's amazing that, drones are scoring a 1, and yet always manned aviation's always going to be under review, always, because you can't get that risk down anymore. I would have thought there's a remote chance of hitting. I would have scored manned aviation slightly higher because they do it. It's happened a few times this year. It's not just one occasion it's happened. It's been a couple. I would have actually scored manned aviation slightly higher than Bruce, for example.
I'll show you. The regulators are so far out of whack. I think it was this year or last year, the FAA said, we want to introduce a culture of safety into unmanned aviation to bring it into line with manned aviation. And I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute. We don't want to be as dangerous as them. We want to be much safer than them. We're already safer than them. You don't want us adopting their culture because look where that gets you. So, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You are right. We do not want to get to manned aviation's level, because if we got to manned aviation's level, that means you would expect, 10 pilots, remote pilots to die a year, or 10 people to die from drones a year? We do not want to get near that level. That level that would be a real pain for us. As long as we never get near that, I will be happy. Do you know what I mean?
But again, the intrinsic level of risk is so low. We have to work really, really hard to do something bad. Whereas manned aviation just had to take their eye off the ball for a minute and something bad happens.
Yes. Well, sadly, a Learjet did. It hit power lines and came into a part of LA. It crashed and it cost 4 people.
That's what I said in a tweet. There's so many bad things happen. Aircraft crashes and incidents happen at or near airports. They should ban aircraft from those areas. Make it an exclusion zone, aviation exclusion zone. No aircraft at airports, because that's where the crashes happen.
And John, there's been plenty of mid-airs outside of controlled airspace and outside of air shows. Plenty. Sadly,
it is sad.
I see there a business opportunity, guys. Sorry. Imagine that you would have to pay to fly, so you could reserve the entire path without wires.
Yeah. God, I wonder what we could do. We could have some sort of tracking system that would allow us to ensure then that the
electronic
tracking, some
monitoring.
sort of thing like that. Yeah.
So manned aviation can see manned aviation to avoid each other.
No. And also a kill switch. So if you didn't pay, you would press the kill switch.
That works for me.
I want to see that in hot air blue.
Yeah, well, now steady. Look, we're beginning to talk nonsense. I've seen the time as well. What else have we seen this week? When do we ever stop? That's true. That's very true. What else have we seen in this?
I think we should do a vow for 2022 not to speak nonsense anymore.
Well, we're not going to have very long streams, then, are we? 30 seconds at tops.
For 2022, I think NASA will fly the Ingenuity aircraft again. I think that's going to fly again, isn't it? Because that flew a month ago, didn't it? Amazingly, it's still flyable.
For 13 odd flights, isn't it, or something?
Yeah, it's gone well.
Yeah, it's logged over 30 minutes total flight time.
Yeah.
It's
more than most of my drones get.
How many more companies will claim that it's their technology driving it next year? Because that's
just the AMA. I think the AMA is the only one.
Yeah.
It was thanks to them that flew.
Let me guess, it's got a cube in it.
No, it's got a really simple Linux.
Yeah, it'd have to be very simple.
In it. Yeah, really simple. I can't remember off the top of my head what's in it, but it's very.
I think it's a Casio calculator or something, isn't it?
Boobless.
Oh, hang on a minute. It can't be that small because let's face it, today's programmers are too
That's
lazy.
what my wife said the first time we met.
Exactly.
The coders are too lazy now to make the code too small to fit in the Casio anymore.
Come on. I think next year is going to bring, because Type's saying, let's talk about the years. I think next year is going to bring the complete defunking of AAM, UAM, whatever you want to call it. I think that's going to disappear off into the distance.
Did you see the Chinese are making lots and lots of little, Milton Keynes trundlers now? They're making a lot of those for delivery. That's what they've decided. That's going to be ground-based, small vehicle delivery for drone delivery. They're smart people in China. They've worked this out, and I think the rest of the world will come to the conclusion that maybe they're right. Maybe Milton Keynes was ahead of its time with its roundabouts.
Absolutely, Anthony Bishop. Hello, I hope you're well, Anthony. Nice.
What's your thoughts on China kicking off about Elon and the fact that they've had to debut the space station?
That's all bullshit.
It's all
bullshit. The SpaceX satellites are in an orbit with a very narrow vertical band, and if they've been out there for a long time, suddenly, all of a sudden, the Chinese space station is going to bang into a SpaceX satellite? I don't think so, unless they've changed altitude. And talk about the pot calling the kettle black. Who blew up a satellite recently and showered the bloody heavens with fragments of? Yeah, no, it's just a PR stunt.
Here's the thing: China won't like the fact that someone's. So it's a BS story, and you can tell it's because China will just want the space above China to only have their satellites. That's what's going to be pigging them off. It's going to be an internet system they cannot control. So therefore, we've got to scare, and we've got to get this moved. The space station's well above the height of the satellites. Otherwise the decay is going to be too much. So yeah.
Do we think that the satellites could cause problems for others in the future? Do you think, because he's quite the network up, isn't it? It's an interesting question, because how do you, this is a private company. This isn't a government. This isn't this is a private company, has basically showered the world in privately owned satellites. And, we know there's been complaints from stargazers, but this does have interesting ramifications, doesn't it?
Actually, you see, I'm going to be slightly. The problem is, right, where they are is not.
You're not going to be very pro Elon, are you?
Well, it's not territory, so it doesn't matter if it's OneWeb. It doesn't matter if it's Elon. It doesn't matter if it's Amazon's Kepler or whatever they're going to call theirs. It doesn't matter what it is. It's very, very interesting that no government that controls its people, like China does, is going to want something that could be used by their citizens discreetly. They're not going to like it. They will not want this, and no government's going to want it, really, because it means someone like me, someone like Ian, we might go, do you know what, screw this. I'm not going to spend my money where I do. I'm now going to go into the digital world. It gives the people digital freedom, this system, and governments don't like us to have freedom anymore. I'm afraid there's too many rules.
Trying to find China, Gary.
Oh yeah.
Where is it on there?
There. No, that's Russia. There it is. Look at Russia.
Yeah. So it's just there you go.
So where's China?
It's not that bad. And you have to remember, Elon doesn't want to stop people launching rockets because he's got to launch the biggest of them all up. he's got to launch them from Florida, hasn't he? So you don't want
That's
to block it
interesting,
all.
isn't it? With the top of Canada. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so they don't actually go all the way to the north. It's quite interesting. They don't go.
Well, it's all
the
very
way.
narrow up there. Are they seeing enough of the top of the Earth there? Because it's not. That's not right. You know. Are they seeing enough?
You see, that's wrong, isn't it? Because the Earth is not actually a sphere as such, is it? That's actually quite wrong. It's actually squished a bit, isn't it? We're squished at the top.
So where is it? I'm trying to see, where is China on this map then? Because which way around is
It's
it?
here, mate. It's here. It's here. It's here.
And there aren't that many
Yeah,
satellites.
you're upside down compared to how I normally view it. Here you go. So
What do you mean? If we don't look at the,
oh, well, there.
we don't look at the
What's the red
we
line?
don't put all our globes up the other way down here, you know.
Oh, this was really confused Bruce.
After a few bourbons, it all looks like that.
There, look, well, there's Wales. There's your one over there. There's your grid square.
But it is interesting, isn't it? You know, is it a good idea that one man has control of this? There are far-reaching implications.
Well, you go
Especially,
and get
look,
you're going to get the same from Amazon, so I don't see a problem. OneWeb would be the same, and that's, you know.
No, it's. Have you crunched the numbers? Have you actually crunched the numbers and the prices he's charging and the number of people you can service concurrently? It doesn't add up economically. Financially, it doesn't make any sense. There's got to be some other reason that they're doing this, because you cannot run that as an internet service profitably. You simply can't do it. So I think something else is going to happen here. There's either some secondary motive, or it's just one of Elon's little, you know, it's basically proving his launch vehicles where he's making all the money. I don't know what he's doing, but I don't see it being a commercially viable service in the longer term.
Come on, Bruce. What is your doubt? After you took the third jab, they're just using it as a relay. So don't worry, you understand it.
Louis.
I do agree with Bruce that it makes no sense to put it everywhere. You know, if you were going to put a satellite system in place, why are you going to cover places where you can get broadband for 30 quid? That doesn't make sense. What makes sense is you put it to cover the bits of the planet that can't get it. That makes sense.
Sorry. It makes sense to have a comprehensive and the most extensive network possible, so that you can kill all the Vodafones and all the carriers in the world.
You see, here's the thing you're missing. So you're saying don't cover that city, but as with the UK, as soon as you go, say, 2 miles out of a city, the internet can be crap, you know, and he's actually selling it now to airline companies. So he doesn't, you know, those airlines are flying at 30,000 feet, going over the city. Not only can it service the city, it services the planes. Then you've got all the ships he's going to service out in the oceans, and he's going to charge those industrial companies a bit more than 50 quid or $100. He has signed up some big names. Will
only cost 300 to launch a rocket. So
but look, he's also building a hyperloop from where to where and when. He's also launching a big truck in 2017. They're going really well. He's doing so many things that he's just not doing. It's all part of the whole mystique, you know, the thin line between insanity and genius, and he straddles that, and quite often he falls off to the insanity side with some of it.
For me, the best one, and to end up the year in beauty, is Tesla is going to buy Mercedes-Benz, because Mercedes-Benz is just a few $1 billion. So he doesn't even have to ask permission to the boards. So he has so much money on his hand that he could buy Mercedes-Benz.
This is the funny thing, though. Any company anyone who has an inkling about it would know it would be insanity for Tesla to buy any car company and baggage themselves with 40 years of history needing to make parts. And this is the big crippler for the car industry right now. Mercedes-Benz have to be able to have parts available, not only for that lovely new car that came off the showroom today, but that car that was made 30 years ago. And this is the problem with the current car industry. And Tesla are going to hit this point. They are.
But hey, they've already hit the problem. Because if you try and get panels for a Tesla in the US today, it is a 90 to 180 day wait for replacement body panels, because they're using all the parts to make new cars. They do not have spare parts.
spare parts. And this is the thing. So they're never going to buy another car company because you're not going to saddle yourself with the historic baggage that comes with a car company.
Well, the other thing is as well, he doesn't want to take on them because you're stuck with petrol and diesel variants to change all their equipment to even get close to his production style. It's just old kit that's basically you can put in the skip for Tesla because they don't use any of the stuff. Their production system is completely different.
Yeah, Tesla do need to be careful as well because the reality is a full electric car isn't actually the most sense. A full electric car it's not the perfect solution. So for instance, hybrids or plug-in hybrids are actually in many ways better than a full electric. So for instance, you can make 3 plug-in hybrids for every full electric vehicle based on the battery capacity. So you can get 3-to-1 on the batteries. Most journeys that cause the most pollution are the journeys where the engine is cold and short journeys to shopping and places like that, which all the plug-in hybrids can do. The logic is actually plug-in hybrids with about 80 to 100 miles range, if we can get to that stage, because petrol engines are actually extremely efficient once they're warm on a motorway traveling.
Only 30 to 33%.
Yes, but I mean, if you take into account the biggest impact on the environment isn't the vehicles traveling the great distance. The biggest impact on the environment is the vehicles going to Tesco's and back. And plug-in hybrids, you can put
the biggest environment. Oh no! The biggest impact is people wanting to move around from one place to the other.
Well,
look
people
what
happen
happened. No. Look at what happens with confinement. When the countries went on confinement, pollution dropped. So that's the solution.
Yeah,
everybody
but there's a large argument to be said. You are better putting 3 plug-in hybrids on the network, because remember, the electricity doesn't come from nowhere. It's not free. You are burning fuel to create that electricity. It's not.
So you're fast moving to being completely renewable, though. In the UK,
it is
fast moving there.
No,
not totally though, because a lot of our renewables are not predictable. We got solar, we got wind. Like it can be cloudy days, and you got winter. You only get a little bit of sunlight. You got wind, so you get calm days or wind days, and the wind is too strong, or days when Louis flying drones around the turbine, so they can't use them. All these things contribute to the fact that you still need some baseline generation, which is going to have to be nuclear or fossil.
Yeah, there will always be baseline. I mean, my friend's got a BMW, the i3, which is a hybrid. It's 100, I think it does like 160 odd miles, and it's got a petrol engine. I have to say, the BMW i3 is one of the best electric cars or hybrids I've ever been in. It's just bonkers for its size. And I would have one if I could afford one. I would have one.
No, it's the car that you don't want to be seen inside.
The bonkers. They are so much fun to drive.
I want a Citroen Amy. Citroen Amy is the future.
So do I.
Oh yeah.
That logic is in the plug-in hybrids, because you think the most pollution and the most journeys is short range. Most people are only driving, taking the kids to school, picking up the shopping. That's most average families are doing that. Not many people are driving more than 30, 40, 50.
Yeah, but
if
you think about
it,
you're not many people.
No. If you think about it, most people have 2 cars. Most families have 2 cars. What you want is one petrol car and one full electric car. The full electric does the small commuting, running around, and then the petrol car doesn't have the added burden of carrying around a huge generator motor and batteries and things. So it's more efficient from a fuel perspective. So then you get the best of both worlds.
Get one of these and shut up. At least you'll have some fun.
I have to say, I can tell at the minute the weather in the UK is rubbish. My electric bill is astounding because I've got solar. And right now, I have to say, I'm not generating anything at the minute, I don't think. If I make 50p a day out of them, or 10p, they don't run the house for like an hour at a time at the moment. It's ridiculous.
Hello to Fiona in Australia there. I don't know what time of day it is there. It'll be earlier than you, wouldn't it, Bruce? It must be
I got 3 hours earlier than me. So it was about, was it 8:30 or something, is it? Depending on which part of Australia.
Yeah.
Should we have a look at today? I have generated today a total of 1 kilowatt.
How many crypto coins is that?
But don't forget, you've just connected Norway, that great big fat electric cable to Norway.
We're connected
and so they're full of that sort of stuff. And as more cables get connected, there'll be parts of Europe.
The electricity be flowing to Norway to charge all their electric vehicles because they're really into EVs.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, as long as we can cut the cable between us and France, who keep threatening us anyway, so we just need to cut that bloody cable anyway, to be honest.
Yesterday was
Oh.
better. I generated 900 watts of energy all day yesterday. That tells you the weather we're
I
having.
thought you were going to do a solar video because you were going to do this.
Yeah, I haven't finished it. I'm gonna wrap that up in the next week and actually get that out.
He's waiting for the sun to come up because you guys are in UK. Come on.
That's the problem with solar, though. It's totally out of sync with demand, because when you need the power at night for lighting and things, there's no generation. And that's why I think tidal has got a lot of opportunity, because it's guaranteed twice a day and it's easy to harness. And the only real thing that I found against tidal is the fouling problem, because you've got marine organisms grow and things. You've got to stop it and clean them all off, even if you paint them with tin paint. So yeah, but I think that's got to be the way to go. Tidal, when you've got, if you're a coastal country, because you dig a big hole, have it sort of like harbour where all the water flows in and out, and you capture it twice a day, and it's probably going to be right by a big city.
Yeah. So solar will work for most households, though, if you have a battery system with it. So you need like a 12 kilowatt battery that you charge during the daytime. So at night you can. So
your 900 watts can be used right through the night.
Okay, so you lose efficiency on the solar cells, and you lose efficiency on the inverter, and then you lose efficiency on the batteries.
I've looked into it. It's really low. My inverter is 98%, and there again 98%. So the losses are very, very little, to be honest.
Yeah, but you've got battery losses as well.
Let's face it. Everyone's suffering. Power costs are going up. So I don't know about Ian, but I'm on Octopus Go, and I'm lucky. I changed literally a month before all our prices in Europe and the UK just went bonkers, because now if you go onto a tariff now, I think it's like 22p, 25p a kilowatt.
I'm paying £170 a month for my gas and electric.
So,
right.
I pay £150 a month just to be connected here.
I've got jumperlies that go to the neighbour's house. I don't pay anything.
Look, he's got a screw where the meter used to be, just across the two cables. 170 quid I pay.
I'm running two big fish ponds out back. What the hell are you running?
Those pumps.
No. That's not for power. That's just to be connected. For power, I pay about 70 quid a month.
How much for a kilowatt hour?
170 quid a month.
So we're 200. I'm on between 300. There's just over 300 quid was this month's bill.
But £150 a month in electricity right now, and the rest is gas. So gas is anywhere between. My gas bill is shot up because obviously the heating's changed, so the gas is suddenly kicked in. But yeah, electricity's about £130 a month.
So you're the cause of all this climate change with your burning your gas. But it's like New Zealand sounds like South Africa. We have a line fee, which is the fact that there's a power line outside our door. We have a connection fee, and we have a minimum daily tariff, which is just for basically making sure the lights go off and on. And then you have a kilowatt hour pack rate, which is on top of it. Unfortunately, in the summer, because we live in such a warm, temperate country, my last power bill was $169, and it goes up to about $300 in the winter, which isn't too bad. But I mean, again, it's because we're a very temperate climate. We don't have the extremes of hot and cold like many other. And we have a fireplace we put wood in it and burned old trees. It's fantastic.
It's because we're struggling in the UK. You've had five companies go under now, and there's more. 10, sorry, it's 10 now. Oh, sorry, 4 biggies, isn't it? And 10. We've had 10 power companies go under. There's probably going to be a 30% increase in energy this week or next week, because there's a big meeting with the government and everyone's losing money. Every electricity company is losing money right now because the market has shifted, and the government in the UK have a price cap on energy, so they're not allowed to charge more than the price cap. But they've basically been losing money for 3 months. So
continue.
It can't continue.
Oh God! I'm so sad for them. I'm so sad after all those months getting record profits.
Well, do you know how much they make? Here's the interesting thing. There's a breakdown, and this astonished me. They make how much money a year do you think an electricity company makes on an average customer?
Almost as much as Bruce.
Ian, guaranteed prices are the way to keep your taxes high.
In the UK, how much do you think? In the UK, right, I'll tell you now. In the UK, the average electricity company on each customer makes £36. That's it.
Yeah, but there's millions of them.
Can I just say, right? The UK government pays me for my solar generation about £600 a year for my solar panel generation. I mean,
Wow.
holy crap!
That's what
Your in tariff must be enormous.
They're making £36 on an average household. All of the money goes to the network and the wholesale price. And there's a few other things in there which I didn't know. There was an interesting cost breakdown, and I was astonished. So, but the companies themselves, the ones you're paying, are making about £36.
And they're probably not making that out of me because of the solar, so they'll never make that out of me. I mean, in the summer, my electric bill in the summer is about £15, if that, a month. In the summer,
I wish mine was.
Wow. See, the problem in New Zealand is because they have such high fixed charges, you can use no power and you're still paying $100 a month.
Yeah.
And
We have
here.
Because I know all the holiday homes cost me a fortune. 5 or 6 houses around the countryside. You're paying that every month, everyone, whether you use them or not. It's just, no, it's terrible.
Yeah, they jam that into our price. So if you use the irony is, the more electricity you use, you disproportionately pay for the network, because the more you use, the more you're paying for the network. It's not, in some ways, Bruce's system is fairer, but you're having to pay for it. There is a standing charge in the UK, which is about 20p a day.
25p, mine.
Is that less if you're standing in a field, in your own field, outstanding?
Yeah. In rubber wellies, it goes down to 15.
Who saw the video of the guy with the umbrella that got hit by lightning?
No, I didn't see that.
Did you see that? His umbrella exploded into a shower of flames and he fell on the ground, but he only burnt his hands. It was quite impressive.
Anthony Bishop, wow. I don't pay anything, the wife does. Good lad.
We have definitely gone off topic.
Is this where you should jump the shark? Is that the two?
We are droning on.
I didn't make as much of it as I should have done, but in 2010, when I did Flight Farm, my only claim to fame, I did solar charge it then, so I could say that it was solar charged. Pointless, really, but I did. You can do that thing. So that is the great thing with it, is as long as you keep your systems electrical, you can take your power with you. But
so
I see New Zealand. Well, our national airline, Air New Zealand, plans to have its first electric passenger aircraft in service by 2026, I think they said. And I'm thinking, what are you smoking? What are you smoking?
Hydrogen, I presume.
Yeah, hydrogen hybrid electric. Yeah, but it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, droning on. He has quit. Yeah, you wanted me to buy it.
Is Ash actually quit now fully? Is he?
I think so.
I haven't spoken to him in a while, because obviously he was over in Sweden, Denmark, Norway.
It's a tough game, this industry, eh? If your 3D vendors aren't up to scratch, there's no place for you in this industry.
No.
Absolutely. Look, we are definitely ranting on about nothing. And
hey, Sean's here. Better late than never, mate.
Time to go now. Cheers, Sean. Sorry, I had to say it. We'll go back to that. I'll go back to looking. You go back to yes.
Lurking, that's near Milton Keynes, isn't it?
It is, yeah. They do the Starship delivery drones there and everything. Right. It's time to go. Dear viewer, have a wonderful new year. We'll see you again in 2022. Next year. Whole year away. Look after yourselves. If you're going to get very drunk, then please get very drunk and very messy and let us know all about DJ. That's Ian's our DJI representative. We all know that. Yes. We'll see you again next year. Look after yourselves. Take care. Wear masks. Wash your hands. All those other good things. Omicron's fun. Cheers, boys. Look after yourselves. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye. 1 click, 2 click, and